Good evening and welcome to the Be Together Talks. Be Together is initiated to show what a B Corp actually is and what are the challenges, the highs and the lows. We are live here from Oceans in Haarlem, an impact hub that creates waves of change. On behalf of Dopper, me, Marijn Everaars, the founder of Dopper, is the host tonight for the guest here at the table. Also next to the table is Jantine here. And especially for you at home to answer hopefully all your questions. You're very welcome to put them in already now. At this talk show we have, these talks, we have 5 different B Corps here at the table talking about how, what it does, what does it take to foster a better work environment. I will repeat this sentence later again. The experts at the table will talk about people as a force for good. At the table we have Ine Stultjes, from the head of marketing and communication from Royal Alping. Welcome.
Thank you.
Inso van Zanten, chief evangelist from Tony Chocoloni. Welcome. Benjamin van der Kloet, for head of marketing Benelux for Innocent Drinks. And Laura, and now I have to say it in één keer, one time, very good, huh? Vicaria, CSR manager from Mudjeans. Behind the scenes, Jantine, for all your questions, and she is the content specialist at Dopper. To understand what a B Corp is, we have a very, very short video to understand this. So let's take it away with the video.
There are more than 3,000 certified B corporations in 150 industries around the world and growing every day. B Corps are a force for good in the world by adopting better business practices like better wages for workers, responsible sourcing, inclusive hiring, carbon reduction, and charitable giving. What they all have in common is a commitment to do less harm and do more good, just like you. Choose better, do better, feel better.
So, welcome back. I would like to start with introducing my colleague Virginia Jankilovic. She's the CEO of Dopper, and she will tell about people and culture at Dopper.
Good night, everyone. Really nice to be here today with all these great guests. And I would like to say 3 important things that at Dopper are relevant when we talk about people. And it's about our culture, it's about focus, and about appreciation. And when I talk about the culture within Dopper, the most important thing is how proud we all are to work towards a greater thing, the mission of Dopper. And it makes us so engaged with the things that we are doing every day. We are a great place to work, which makes us very proud to be. And every voice within our organization is heard, which is great. And we have an organization where we are giving room for experimenting, so trial and error. And then when I talk about focus, it's good to mention that at Dopper we have a very clear mission. So the destination is clear, but what about the journey? So we have created a one-page plan. So every person within our organization has a one-pager where it says, how can we get to that mission? So it makes us very focused to work for our focus. Secondly, we have decided to have a meeting-free mornings, so everyone can work every morning very focused on your mission, on your own one-page plan. We find transparency a very important topic, so every Tuesday we have a meeting all together to talk about the status of the one-page plan and our strategic goals. So we keep the organization very well focused. And to finalize, I want to talk about appreciation. Because at Dopper we have even a medal. So every week we pass a medal to the colleague that helped you to reach that goal that you really wanted to achieve. So this is amazing that we do this. And also appreciation comes into feedback. Feedback, we see it as a present. Even we ask for feedback. Please tell me, what do you think about my behavior? And we give feedback to everyone. So to conclude, I would like to say that at Dopper, people are really the most important thing that we have to reach the bigger mission that we have. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Virginia. I'm happy working also at Dopper, as you hear. I'm happy sitting here as one of the part of the Dopper team. And what does it take to foster a better work environment? That's what we talk about here today. But please also, guys at home, girls at home, please ask your questions because we will try to answer it. And it will be a lively discussion. We had already a session before where we interact with each other, cheer up each other, but also ask the critical questions if it doesn't come from the public at home. So the first general topic is the human side of sustainability. And I would like to raise the first question to you, Laura, from Mudgeons. What does it take to foster a better work environment for you, from your point of view?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I think it's a great question to open up the conversation. People really make the company. So for them to have a good work environment, they really need to feel empowered and valued. And the way that we try to bring this to Mudgeons is by removing the concept of hierarchy, by having great transparency across the entire company, and a lot of open communication. We are not perfect, but what's great is that there is space to always talk about how to improve and how to be better, and that goes a long way. Another thing that goes a long way is also the culture and the mission of the company, and that itself brings and attracts a lot of people with a lot of passion and interest, and that again fosters an environment of teamwork and perseverance.
Okay, cool. I don't know if we have already questions from home, and otherwise I will please ask your questions, but we are prepared. We have some other questions. I would like to raise a question to Ine. What do people mean for your company, and where does it affect your business?
Yeah, I guess, like Laura said, people make the business, people make the company. On a personal note, I hadn't been to the office for quite some time, but when I was there the other day, it was really boring because the people weren't there. I had to be there for a physical meeting, and when that was done, I stayed working there. But I did all my meetings via my laptop. And then on my way back home, I thought it basically wasn't a day at work. It was very strange because the people weren't in the building, so people make the company, otherwise it's just an empty building.
Yeah.
So I guess you need them. And working for Royal Auping, a Dutch manufacturer of beds and mattresses, I guess we need the people also to literally produce the beds. So even though there is machinery in our sustainable factory, there's a lot of handwork still to be done to make a
And those people are still working, right?
Yeah, the factory is running, and the colleagues are working hard to provide good sleep to everybody, because that's what's very important in times of crisis as well.
Yeah.
It's essential, I would say.
Yeah. And how? Sorry, and so how do you experience the last periods? And how do you come to the office once in a while?
I haven't been away more than twice over the last year. This I think is the second event I even see people in three-dimensional form almost. I think these times show how important it is for people to have human energy around you. Right? I mean, Zoom and Teams, it's very effective, and definitely I think some of it will stay afterwards because it's efficient, effective. A lot of CO2 emissions reduced by not flying to meetings. Yeah. But in the end, I mean, it's in the end about three-dimensional human interaction, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting on this topic. You have the tendency to think about the social aspect and the cultural aspect of a work environment, but there's also kind of the physical aspect. For example, the IT now has to be set up better than ever before. I mean, your IT department is not next to you. But also how to shape up, certainly the time that you're working from home, your workspace. And as an employer, what you can do to make people, give them the right ergonomics and whatsoever to make them efficient and effective.
Yeah,
but
I have a question also for you, Benjamin. How do you engage your team for the purpose of the company?
Oh, do a big next one. Sorry, did you want to go on the?
But do you mean in general or in this period?
No. In general. Yeah. Sorry,
right.
I wanted to go back to the topic of.
Sure. So this is quite a big one, and also for us quite a comfortable one, as purpose has been kind of our North Star or our guiding light throughout our almost entire existence. So where a lot of companies nowadays probably try to find some later on, and you have to start embedding through this throughout the whole culture and throughout the whole workforce. It has been with us for a long while. So we have a lot of initiatives throughout the past 2 decades to engage people on it. And I think what is crucial in this is that you make it an intrinsic motivation. You should not be told that you should care about whatever your purpose is, in our case, to help people on the planet live well and die old, but that you actually feel joy and motivation intrinsically to improve continuously on that. Also, because this is not just a promotion chat for our businesses, I want to give a tricky side on it. Because we have got quite a wide purpose, like I just said, the people and planet. I mean, that's basically everything. So I speak often very jealously of Tony Chocolonely, who seemed to be on the communication side of things, very focused on slavery. And kind of the jeopardy in our very wide purpose is also that where do we speak about publicly? You know, when it's BLM or when it's the social media ban, it's really hard to make choices where you want to be known for and when you want to be silent.
And how to do it correctly. I think that's really, really tricky, to be genuine about talking about people in a genuine way and coming up with arguments and bringing even issues and being vulnerable and saying, hey, we're not perfect. I think that's also really a difficult balancing act.
Do you think it's typical something for a B Corp, or is it generally speaking for every company?
Well, I think it's very difficult for any company, but I think, in my personal opinion, that B Corps tend to have more of an approach to do this in a genuine manner, in a transparent manner, and again, in a vulnerable manner. They don't go and sort of say, oh, we are amazing and perfect. They'll kind of say, you know, this is what we're doing, and this is what we still need to do and fix and work towards.
We have a little angle to a purpose discussion, because I believe there's such a thing as the purpose, but also such a thing as meaning. And
we have a question from home.
I think the purpose is very much the purpose of the company, and I think meaning is your personal, individual meaning within that company of the people. And I think once you align that personal meaning of the people with the corporate purpose, then you've reached that golden button of magic I think you can achieve as a company.
And people come to your company because they are intrinsically motivated, as you mentioned, and then you are coming together. We have a question from home. Jantine, please.
Yes, we have a question from Armel. Thank you for that. How has your commitment to your people and talent management, as B Corp amongst each other, into greater resilience into these troubled home offices times? Anybody can answer this question. So how has your commitment to the people and your talent management into greater resilience into these troubled home offices?
I think when we first met lockdown, or first were faced with lockdowns, I think in our company it was clearly said and also followed up upon that if you have meetings and if you have to step out of a meeting because there's something going on in your home, there's a child or there's a neighbor who needs help or whatever, you're allowed not to be there or to step out of the meeting. And I think that empowered a lot of people to combine the career and the child together, or the homeschooling and the helping each other. And I think once that was set, it was a tiny thing, but a big effect.
And just before the show, you said already the factory workers are still working. That's part of your company. But Tony, you also have your own employees, but there's also farmers who are working abroad. Do you interact with them also in?
Definitely. But one step back is that we always say we're crazy about chocolate, but serious about people. And then number one of serious about people, we will say, is our own team, which is slightly narcissistic. But we're convinced we can only reach that humongous goal of 100% slave-free chocolate by having the most engaged and committed team. But that's always put to the test, obviously, in times like this. You can always say people first, but then what happens when this happens? Now, for me, it was great to see that we put complete focus on our team first. Second, indeed, on the farmers, and only third on the business. How's the business doing? We're in constant contact with the cooperatives to see how it's going. For a long time, there were very few infections, fortunately, in Western Africa. Unfortunately, recently, that's really risen. We've in the early days of COVID, we've launched a campaign of rinsing hands, soap dispensers, water dispensers, posters to
you
just
run that campaign?
We help we help the cooperatives.
Great. I think if nobody else has a something to add, I would like to go to the next topic. It's the tension between people versus the other goals or the interest of the company. In other words, are you customer-centric focused or employee-centric focused? Ine, if I may start with you to ask this question, what kind of people do you actually want to hire for a purpose-driven company?
Yeah, apart from, I guess, people who can share the vision that we have, bringing rest to the world, I think it's important that you feel that, or that you want to contribute to good sleep and understand the importance of it. I think we would also like to see people who are resilient, who show some flexibility, but also go after achieving the big goal that we have in making the sleeping world more circular. I think that's a big thing, and if you want to change that, you also need some kind of people who go after that goal and stick to the plan, and keep an open mind sometimes to go after another plan. Yeah. And I think one of the examples that we've shown in our company is that when we stood up in the beginning of the crisis, also producing face masks for the medical face masks for the Dutch government. I think that was because we saw there were issues and we had an open mind towards society. So that kind of characteristics I think is important to have, or to look for after if you want to hire people, or if you want to find new colleagues.
Yeah. Ben, if I may ask you, do you have any hiring values? Something what you're interested to take with you as a company, as a starting point?
Yes, our values are really important to us. We hold very dearly to them. So we've got 5 values within Innocent, which are responsible, natural, entrepreneurial, commercial, and generous. And we basically fully hire on those 5 values, whether people live up to it. And even if they bring all the skills and experience to the table required for the job, but they don't live up to these particular values, we might decide not to hire that person, or we probably won't hire that person. So these are really important to us. They're also immediately our leadership capabilities, so they convert immediately to how we want to manage people through these values. So extremely important.
Yeah, and how do you find out that they are living according to the values? We have a question from home.
Well, that requires some interview training, I guess, to figure that out within the first 1 hour that you speak to people, and generally on the first, on a page when you see people. But there's already quite a few details that you can get from that, and it's probably not through the most regular questions that you can find out some of those aspects. I very much enjoy kind of those processes.
Okay, cool. Anna, you were nodding. Laura, sorry, you were nodding. You want to add something to Benjamin?
No, absolutely. I think that goes very much hand in hand. You very quickly can notice if that person matches the values of your company. In the case of Mudjeans, just even looking or thinking of all of our colleagues, there's such diversity in culture and working approach and personalities, but you do see a great genuine sort of common aspects and values, which is passion for sustainability, circularity, but also nature of great kindness and interest of being a team and working well in a team, and those things go a long way.
Yeah. Ben, does the van test still exist at Innocent Drinks?
What is that?
What's that?
Been there, done that.
Back at Innocent Drinks, we used to have the van test in the hiring process, which meant simply, can I be with this person in a van from Amsterdam to Maastricht without the radio on and throwing that person out around Utrecht? So that was just the van test at the hiring process.
I think we call it differently nowadays, but it is still something we think about. Can I add something to values, which I find really important, because I can imagine that businesses at a very startup phase are listening to this chat and think about, when you have 5 people, why should we think about having our company values? What I find awesome about having values is that you get a certain group with a certain personality, a collective personality in an office. Yeah. And I've worked for companies where the brand was completely something completely different than the inside of the company. And what I absolutely love about Innocent is the brand personality on the outside is the reflection of our collective personality of people on the inside.
Definitely.
I think the values sort of translate into a culture of the company, and that culture itself can sort of help transform and push the mission forward. And That's the way I see it.
Especially when a company is growing, and I've had the joy to I've been working for Innocent Drinks as well in the past, and I still recognize what you are saying, Ben, because you are this collective, and you all have the same values, and you show it outside, and then it starts turning and it starts growing and growing slowly. I think it's great to hear that that the fan test is still on.
Still on. We have a question from home.
Cool.
Jantine?
Yes, it's a question from Marieke for Laura. How do you make decisions without hierarchy?
Yeah, well, it's just a very open, we have the main owners of the company, but in terms of talking and making suggestions, it's a very open discussion. So I can pick up the phone and call Bert, our CEO, who's also here, and say, hey, Bert, I was thinking of this and this and this, or let's sit down and toss around some ideas. And it's just a very open communication, and at the end, there is just a decision that is made based on what makes sense for the company. So
is that always organically, or is there, if it's like 50-50, Bert has final say at the end?
Well, he is the CEO, of course, but you have the space to sort of say, hey, look, this is really good. We have this information. I think this can go a long way, and you can push for it. And if it makes sense, it'll go forward. And I think that's really great to have, because even myself, I'm only with the company for a year and a half, and many times I sit and I come up with a strategy or come up with ideas, and I feel very comfortable to come and bring those ideas forward and sort of discuss them without having any fear or hesitation. And at the end of the day, you should feel comfortable to discuss and even debate certain concepts and objectives. So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I feel really that it's in the DNA of B Corps, that the purpose is there also for all the employees which are working there, and they feel part of the whole team and the whole mission. So that makes everyone together.
So I think a very clear purpose gives you a compass in decision making as well.
Yeah. And and so I don't know if you experience in the corporate world, but do you see a difference between corporate and like B Corp, more purpose-driven companies?
I'm not really sure. I think even B Corps can become really corporate, or big corporates can become a B Corp.
Yeah.
So I'm not really sure. I think it's
but
more.
But is it changing something in the DNA of the people or in the company?
Well, again, what I said earlier, I think if you have a very clear purpose, and I believe B Corps have a more clear purpose than maybe non-B Corps, and that purpose can give you really clear compass. I mean, almost everything we do is aligned to how does this support our mission in Western Africa, right? So how, if we get asked for a sponsorship, right? It's always okay. So how does this support our mission of 100% slave-free chocolate?
Yeah. We have people and we have the planet. So people versus planet. First do this because it's on this topic. I think a question from the audience, please.
Yes, there's a question from Powell. I hope I said the name right. A little bit of a challenging one, so I'm interested to see the answers. How do people know that your company has higher standards and not just a good marketing machine?
Transparency,
all the way.
Honesty,
Transparency, I hear. So
yeah, I think, but it's a good point. I mean, there's a lot of greenwashing going out there, and the latest thing is obviously a lot of purpose washing. But I do believe that complete transparency, openness, a bit of humbleness gets you a long way.
And also saying where do you stand? Like, this is where you want to go, and now you're there. And be open also about we're working on the rest. You cannot be done.
And let's not forget, B Corp certification is a process to go through.
That's what I wanted to
And
mention.
it's
Because
tough.
if you go through this process, we didn't even mention it, but the B Corps which are here on the table, they some blood, sweat, and tears went into becoming a B Corp. And it means everything in this whole document, actually, what you have to make to verify who you are, and if you are really a B corporation good for this planet. It means if you show this to the people who come and work there, it's transparency and vulnerability.
So as an answer to the audience, it would be, well, look for a B Corp certification that gives you a certain amount of authenticity.
Yeah, that's for consumers very interesting, and also for companies. You can do a quick B Corp assessment for your company and see where you stand on the ladder of transparency, and also if you're doing good for the
and it's also a great way to improve.
Cue for a little pitch on a Dutch supermarket.
Well, so we managed last week. Well, thanks for giving me this opportunity. We managed last week, or early this week actually, last Monday, to get our own B Corp page at the Albert Heijn online shop, which I think is huge step forward, and we're really grateful for Albert Heijn to give us this opportunity to get our own spot there. Next step would be maybe even a labeling to all the B Corp products. But this recognition now finally, that's a major improvement.
Yeah, that's not only you or your brand.
No,
not
so
only
it's all B Corps.
All the products which are in, because you
FMCG
probably don't
B Corps.
know, there's quite a lot of products already for consumers reachable, like Tony's. Sometimes it's on the package, sometimes not. But it's very good from Albert Heijn that they started with this.
Yeah, absolutely.
People and planet, or versus planet. What's good for the planet is not always good for people. So what's about attention to? I want to ask you. I mean, you have organic cotton, which is very good to make, but if it's now very good for small farmers, for instance, it's not always the case. Can you tell a bit about
that? It's a difficult subject. I had quite some nice discussions with our global sustainability manager on this topic earlier. I think ideally we always choose where both benefit. So a nice example of this is that we have a strawberry project in the south of Spain, in Andalusia, near the Doñana Park, where we're all about adding the right kind of water systems. And because of that, the farmers have more yield, less wastage, but also the biodiversity grows because of that. So that's really the perfect example where people and planet can go hand in hand. Mm-hmm. But it's not always easy to grow both. I think in the last Be Together chat, I gave the example of being organic, which is in food a big thing, and we all want to be organic. But that also excludes a lot of small farmers who can't get the right yield without any pesticides. So it's a very difficult subject, which usually requires a lot of context. I think to give a little bit more of an exact answer rather than fighting always for both, I believe that as long as you focus on educating people, they then will do the right thing for planet. Quite similar to charity, not just give them money, but educate them to do better with the planet.
Yeah, our approach is a little bit different. So we work with organic cotton, specifically GOTS certified organic cotton, and we made that decision specifically also because it equates or brings into the equation people. So when you're purchasing organic cotton, for our approach has been through certification. So we don't have the luxury of owning our own cotton farm or working directly with a cotton farm. But we do want to have certain visibility of the type of conditions that the people that are picking up the cotton that we use are working with. So for us, it was important that labor, human rights, and labor rights were very much part of that equation, so that we knew that small farmers and the farmers that are involved, and of course understanding the limitations that you brought up, of course, that maybe you're excluding certain farmers, but that the people that are involved do benefit from good working conditions, healthy working conditions. And you have certificates such as BCI or OCS, which are not, they're good, but they take other values. While GOTS, they're able to take not only the fact that you have about 70% of organic content in the cotton that you buy, but they also have, and this is more environmental, but they also have water management policies and chemical policies. But a big tick for us is the fact that in the process of auditing, they audit against human rights policies and also labor conditions. So those are really important for us, and that's how we moderate that.
Yeah, without being able to judge because you're in a completely different industry. I think what is interesting what we do is we assess it. We don't necessarily audit you're in, you're out. There are also many suppliers that are not at where we want them to be yet, but we kind of guide them to there, because that also means that collective improvement is growing towards a more sustainable environment.
And I think that's a great approach, especially, and I think for that you need a little bit more of a scale to be able to work directly with certain farmers or certain individuals and help them, as you said, just slowly progress towards what we like to call continuous improvement, right? It's not about being perfect, but it's about having the intention to move in that direction.
Yeah, and that's also nice about the B Corp assessment. You start at a minimum of 80 points, and you can have a maximum of 250 if I'm or 300. So you are not perfect on the first day. You can grow into this process.
Exactly.
That's really cool. We have a question from
Yes, we have a question from Beth. In your early development years, do you feel you had to forfeit a degree of financial success to stay true to your social and sustainable message?
Can you repeat?
Can I dive into that one?
Go ahead.
No, I think often you get the question. So how do you balance sustainability, ethics, and financial success? I think that's a wrong starting point. I think once you start seeing it as two ends of a spectrum, you lose the potential of seeing it as a synergy. And I think Tony's shows that if you stop seeing it as something that's contrary to each other, you can add them up and become financially successful. I mean, for us, it's essential to be financially successful, but it shouldn't be an end goal, right? It's a means towards a goal.
Exactly.
And I think for every company, if you let go of it being a paradox, you can reach a higher level.
Yeah. Is Tony's think is perceived as organic? Is it organic?
No, it's often I often get that question.
Yeah.
It's not, and there's a clear reason for that, because we're focusing on farmers in Western Africa that are so underpaid and live in so much poverty that probably to ask them to become organic, their yield will become even lower. So you first need to get them to that living income standard, and at least pay them a living income reference price for the cocoa beans that they deliver. And yes, we help them decrease the use of pesticides and increase the amount of compostation, for example, and help them improve their farming methods. And only if they reach a certain point of yield, of effectivity, then I would love if we could reach that point that we could then help them become organic.
Yeah.
Well, not at the point that they're in now.
No, but this is also part of the growing process. Then. And for Auping is perceived is a front runner in sustainability concerning mattresses. But do customers understand, or is this a reason to buy a mattress at Auping? How do you perceive it?
I think more and more we developed a circular mattress. That means then that all the ingredients of the mattress can be reused over and over again. So the mattress becomes a resource for a new mattress, and that's a difficult story to explain to consumers. But
And it's really unique, right? I believe.
It is unique. I think we have never, so far we have not seen anything similar and at such a high level as we do. There's people that call their mattress circular or sustainable, but it's a bit different than
I once heard you could fill the Ajax Arena, quite current tonight.
Yeah.
The Ajax Arena with mattresses every year that are thrown away in Holland that are not recyclable.
Only in Holland.
Yeah.
Only in Holland.
Yeah.
So it's 1.5 million mattresses that are being discarded every year in the Netherlands. Most of them end up as landfill. Some end up at the street. That's the worst you can do, I think. Auping started years ago already with a take-back system. So we were already in charge of sorting out how to recycle the materials. And now we have come up with a fully circular mattress. And it's I think we made an interesting campaign about it, explaining the story about these 1.5 million mattresses. We used old mattresses to tell our story. We painted them, and they are the canvas to explain the new story. You see it on the screen, the story of 1.5 million mattresses. But I guess it's not for every consumer the reason to come to a store and to buy the circular mattress. But once we have them, they do get the message, and the campaign is understood very well. But most important is that we deliver a product that is really comfortable to sleep on. And that's why you buy the mattress. And by the way, it's a circular mattress. And we believe in the purpose of changing the world into circular mattresses. And we will get there, and we have only just begun. And I think an important step there is that but maybe you get to it later, that we open up the technology to others. And then I think we have looked a bit at what Tony's does. Share our knowledge with others and say, if you want to join our revolution, then please use our technology. And that's
so other mattresses companies you actually invite to be part of, or you explain to them how to deal with it.
That's also nice. The collective improvement, as you explain it, Ben.
Can I ask you, being the devil's advocate, do you ever get the question from people, because you're a premium bed brand, I mean, kind of the summum of what you can get, like, why should I pay as much for that because it's reused? Shouldn't it be cheaper now?
Yeah, we get that for our jeans all the time.
How do you deal with that?
And I think there we have to work to explain that maybe a bit sharper, that it's not an old mattress. It's a completely new mattress. apart from the fact that the ingredients or the materials, they have been used already in a mattress, but it's fully clean, healthy, ventilating,
you make new
great,
materials out of it. You recycle it.
Yeah.
Back to the very fiber of things.
So, and interesting because the other day someone said, but why is it an argument, or is it a benefit you should use to sell the mattress? Maybe you should just talk about the quality or the comfort of it, or
and the costs of an arena filled with mattresses are externalized. That's a problem with sustainability.
And that's also a thing that we are working on. We are collaborating with competitors to come to a standard to this to help The Hague actually in the Netherlands to come up with policies, because as a manufacturer in the end we will be held responsible for the products that we put on the
planet.
But I think this is a great link in the way how B Corps think about people, and it isn't just the people in our companies, but B Corps actually also think how their decisions impact communities. So you deciding to create a circular product affects the local Dutch community. You pushing certain policies also affects the Dutch communities. And also us, we're working in circular denim, circular fashion, and just like you guys, and again, I think this is also part of B Corps, we love to share our knowledge, and we are pushing innovation, but sharing that knowledge so that anyone can take that and apply it in their own businesses. Again, having a global communal impact and just, using our business as a force for good.
Yeah, awesome.
No pun intended.
We have another question from home. Jantine.
Yes, interesting question from Jelmer. Without diminishing accomplishments, this is also the time for urgency. How do you combine your optimism with the ugly truth?
Wow.
So throwing by incorporating that urgency in your business, I think we're an annoying company to many. Because we keep pushing and pushing, but at the same time you need to also cooperate. But I believe I think maybe that's the energy that many B Corps radiate, that sense of urgency. Indeed, I agree. It's clock is ticking.
Yeah, for us, for example, COVID has also brought out a lot of the reality of the climate change issue, global warming, and sort of the negative effects that it could have. And also during the COVID period, there was a very bad reaction of the fashion industry and how it reacted towards the cancellation of multiple orders and the impact that it had on the people, the garment workers. And interestingly, that really pushed people and customers to think about sustainable fashion much faster. We were already on that horse and, talking about all of this, but suddenly we had this massive parade of people going like, oh yeah, this is good, this is true, circular fashion, sustainable fashion, push. So sometimes when there's those moments of urgency, you can really use the wave or the momentum to further the cause and further, transmit your mission.
So do you now feel then that it's easier to push that mission, or that more people buy into it?
Sometimes, yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a wave now. We have the European Green Deal. Here in the Netherlands, we also have this denim deal happening. There is definitely a push towards becoming more circular for us, specifically as a circular business. That's really interesting. I think the Netherlands wants to be fully circular, I believe, by 2050, if I'm not mistaken. So that's really interesting.
I would like to ask you another question, because we'll actually go to the next topic, because we were talking about people versus planet, but people versus profit is also there. How do financial and ethical targets move together?
This is a great one, and you were touching on that briefly before, right? I mean, a lot of people think that sustainability and profit, or circularity and profit, are a paradox. But the reality is that for a business to function and be successful, you need profit, you need money. But I think what makes the real distinction is the mandate or the mission of the company, and how they use, whether or not they use their profit or their money to push forward that objective, right? So in the case of Mud Jeans, our mission is to live in a world without waste, is to really incentivize the fashion industry to produce in a circular way and consume in a conscious manner. And we do this by making circular denim and saying, hey guys, it's possible. Here it is. Go do it in other areas, And so But to do that, you need money, you need profit to work with post-consumer recycled cotton, to create a product that uses no toxic chemicals, to create a business model where we can take back your jeans, literally recycle them, and literally incorporate them back into making new jeans.
Yeah.
For that, you need money. You also need money to continuously push for innovation. Now we're talking about making a pair of jeans that's entirely 100% made from post-consumer recycled cotton. Pushing innovation and working with really exciting companies, you need money for that. But to answer your question more directly, I think what really makes a difference is that you are setting your financial targets to meet your people and your planet targets. And that's what really sets the difference.
Yeah.
Inzo and I we're also discussing this topic prior to the session during dinner. Words like profit and money are kind of almost dirty words when you're when you're a purpose-driven company. I think you want to have the conversation about size and impact. In our particular case, people consume anyway. They're going to drink drinks anyway.
Yeah.
So if we can offer them with better recycled plastic, with less carbon exhaust, that means that the bigger we are, the better we do for the environment, and that's the driver behind growth. Not necessarily money; it's the impact scale.
Yeah, that's spot on.
Plus, the easier it gets for a consumer to contribute to it.
Exactly, the accessibility increases.
Exactly, making it an easy choice. You know, one thing for us in sustainable fashion, you have people that are really motivated to, be sustainable, and they'll spend half an hour researching what is the best white organic cotton to buy. But most people don't have that time or interest, and with size, with scale, it suddenly becomes an easy choice.
Yeah, and it's part of your view every day. Yeah?
Exactly.
If there's more of B Corp products around you, it's
Yeah.
easy to make that choice.
Exactly, and by making that easy choice, you also have a bigger impact, a bigger positive impact on society and the environment.
Yeah, I think we have a question from home.
Yes, we have a question. We touched up a little bit, but it's interesting. So, given the current pandemic, do you see any significant impact within your industry towards a greater purpose/profit balance?
Yeah, it was. But at Mudjeans there is this transition, I think.
Any other brands that would like to touch up on that?
I think definitely. I think you can. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, on micro level and also macro level, this pandemic isn't fun at all. But we can also use it as a catalyst for change. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think governments can use it as a catalyst for change, honestly, right? And a newspaper yesterday said that only 18% of all the government support has actually gone into a greener society, which is unfortunate because we could have used it to accelerate change. So yes, there are great opportunities at the same time, and I think these times show us how important it is as a society that we're not individuals, as companies, as countries, we're not individuals, right? We're all on the same friggin' tiny planet, and it's all interconnected.
Well, it's an interesting one. We're actually conducting a research at the moment with, businesses were already in that direction of greenifying, but I was afraid that like in a few months after this pandemic started, that people were so self-centered, so self-focused for economical reasons, or the household challenge, that sustainability, Mother Nature, was being left out of discussion a little bit. But you also see people going into nature, appreciating nature more. So I'm really curious to see what our results will be if we care more or less or equal than before now.
But and a question out to the table. How did you experience your relationship with your supply chain partners? Because in our experience, it was very much that this situation brought a lot of solidarity with our supply chain partners. So it was very much like talking and checking in on each other, and even adjusting certain conditions so that everyone's comfortable and the businesses can continue. And I think, that was really interesting to see that people really came together during this hard time.
Maybe there was a bit a more human side to all of this. I guess.
And I'm not sure, Ben. It's at the same time you also see this movement. Definitely in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, maybe we've gotten used to it now already. That you saw communities reaching out to each other a bit more than I was used to, right? And organizing stuff together, getting food trucks into your neighborhood to support that food truck as well. So there's
This is slowly fading out right now, right?
well, or it has become normal. So it's so it's also like it was tough for us not to be able to go to Ghana and Ivory Coast, to the cooperatives that we work with, have face-to-face contact with the farmers. But at the same time, it has increased the infrastructure that we have with them to be in contact with them on an almost daily basis now.
Yeah.
So there's
On the business side of things, I agree. The thing is, on the consumer level, generally, most B Corps, we investigate a lot of time and effort and money into becoming a good brand. Unless, like I said last time, it's harder to be good than to be bad in business. So that means that often our products cost a little bit more. And when your pockets are a little bit emptier, which is often the case right now, then where do you make your decisions? And you do see in FMCG that the budget price levels are increasing at the moment. So it's not just the conscious decision of still owing up to nature, but it's also what you can afford at the moment. That's a difficult one.
True.
Guys, if there's no questions from home, I would like to move. There is a question.
There's an
Okay.
interesting question.
Okay, let's go.
They're all interesting, but this
Yeah.
one I'm also
After that, we will
personally
go to the last topic.
curious about. How, yeah, that was the question. How do B Corps react, so you guys, to close competitors also becoming B Corp certified? Do you see this as a big step
Great.
towards your common goal?
No.
Or is it rather a threat of taking away some of your customers?
No, bring it on.
Yeah.
Bring it on!
Yeah.
Collaboration is the new competition, I would say.
Please,
Yeah.
yeah.
And again, it's because we're all on that one planet, and we need to all move towards a society that's more inclusive, more diverse, more empathetic, more loving, and we can
Yeah.
only do that by collaborating. Also.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this is what I really feel typical for B Corps or social enterprise in general, but what I didn't see in the business world before. That actually we want that there's more people and more companies joining, and then make as a force for good move things forward.
Yeah, and I also think that it's a challenge in sustainability over the years has been that sustainable initiatives were quite fragmented. And by working together, we have a stronger say towards non-B Corps that we can inspire to change them as well.
Yeah, for sure.
I think Laura's example was really explaining this question. I mean, 20 years ago, every company would have trademarked this, and now you're saying we want to share it proactively. Massive change.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for now. Topic 3 is coming up: diversity and inclusion. Of course, it was very hot last year as well, so we would like to go there as well. Laura, may I ask you, how can we be more inclusive and diverse?
Yeah. You know, even last year when the Black Lives Matter movement took place, Mudgeons did a lot of reflecting on this matter, on this topic, as I imagine many of us did. And, you know, our first reaction was like, no, guys, we're so diverse. I mean, we have people from like India, Colombia, Australia, like even the dog is multicultural and from, you know, Sri Lanka, you know, adopted from there. So we were all like, no, we're set, we're good. But then there was like a second reaction to that, and it was like, why are we being defensive about this? This is strange. And also, like, is it enough? And it's definitely not enough just to be anti-racist. And so there needs to be a further discussion on that. So in my role as a CSR manager, I took back and I just tried to understand a little bit what we could do, and I didn't know what to do. We're also a very small company. So one of the things that we did, we joined at the time, we are one of the starting members of a B Corp working group, and it's called Pro-Inclusion and Anti-Racism Working Group. And we joined that group very much to go in there, be vulnerable, talk about the things that we do and what we don't do, and also learn. So, and the reason why I'm also mentioning this here today is because it is B Corp Month, and this working group is actually having a really cool event on the 25th of March, and we have some really great speakers coming to talk about different topics within this inclusion and anti-racism and the work environment discussion. So I want to invite you all, and also all of our listeners, if they want to join. If you're interested, you can find the event on Eventbrite, but also B Corp website, and of course our website, social media. So if you're interested, please join. But going back to the question, you know, that was really very much a platform where we started having that discussion. And as a result, we said, okay, we need to start hiring, working with more diverse models. We also decided to permanently include in our sustainability report a section on inclusion and diversity, with the purpose of permanently discussing this, making a space where we can measure our progress and talk about what we're not doing right. Because what we didn't want to do, and again, this is just trying to be genuine and very honest, we didn't want it to be just a hashtag movement, Instagram movement. We wanted to say, okay, this is a problem, and we don't want to just be anti-racist. What can we do? How can we create a structure, and especially as we grow, a structure in the companies so that we grow as a diverse and multicultural company? But also, how can we then also ensure that in an entire supply chain, we are supporting and empowering our partners to do the same thing? And it's a hard question, and I don't have the answer. But what I have been trying to do is sort of just set the stepping stones to figure that out. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine also Black Lives Matter. It's already here at the table, but also is has an impact on the company. Enzo at Tony's. What happens? Or
well, it's very much in line with what Laura said. So it really opened our eyes, and really, most importantly, started a discussion internally. Started also ourselves being more proactively outspoken about it, also supporting initiatives. We had a lot of breakfast sessions, as we always had, but this time really on the topic. So with the Black Archives from Amsterdam, Jeffrey Afriye, Akwasi, obviously. And even this week we had speakers from one of the best podcasts recently, Plantage van mijn Voorouders, Dutch podcast, about a link between families of Suriname and Holland. And it's still definitely work in progress for Tony's, but it really opened our eyes towards having that fruitful discussion internally and externally, supporting initiatives in the US, for example, as well, also through Pharrell at the moment. So yeah, it's an important topic for us, definitely, and it should be for everybody.
Yeah, and we are looking at our own companies, but also there's also the supply chain where things. Do you talk to your supply chain that they also should change, or should they be on your same level?
Yeah, of course we challenge them in a positive way to live up to our standards in terms of materials that we need to produce in a circular way. I think we will also have discussions about them, about circumstances in the supply chain. But we are a Dutch company, and we try to source as local as we can. So I think the issues raised here, I don't say they are not there, but they are, for us, not so.
Yeah, when you get more from abroad,
impactful.
you say then it's more from abroad. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, but
we just started incorporating social questions about inclusion and diversity into our assessment with our supply chain. I think this is quite a recent development in general.
What is a question? What do you mean by a question?
We've got questions, for example, about gender equality. So females in the top is a very important thing in there. Wager inequality in general is low incomes. So it's not just about race, because I hear the topic about race now quite often. It's also about gender, sexuality, basically everything that can be a minority or a group of characteristics. People that.
And are you asking yourself the question, or are you going to ask the audience, your clientele, the question? Who are you asking the question to? Yourself, to the company?
What do you mean?
To integrate it more on all these topics, or?
Well, no. I mean, yes, we are very focused on integrating, and let me definitely state I'm not an expert on this topic. We've got people far smarter and far more educated on this topic than myself. But what I do see is that we started already years ago on this, so it's something alive and not just jumping on the bandwagon since last year, and that we are really making this very verbal, so it's very loud within the company. And you also said you have to open up the discussion internally and externally. Let's face it, this is a very sensitive topic. So to make it vocal is very important.
For sure. We have a question from home.
It was actually answered by you both.
No, we are doing very good. We are the best in class. Anything more on this topic?
Yeah, I think also it's just, as you were saying, that it is a very sensitive topic, but what we also need to do is normalize that discussion so that it doesn't become, something where people are just walking on eggshells.
Yeah.
that was just my thought.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult one if you work with different cultures. Some things can be said in Holland, for us Dutch, very bold and brave people. But in some cultures, maybe some things are not that outspoken. So that's something it's
a
quite a lot
delicate
of
line,
thinking
yeah.
behind there.
Yeah. What I really like is that we're not talking so much about COVID, but there is a back to normal. Is there a back to normal coming up or not? What do you foresee
Well,
within
I hope so.
Now we are sitting at home,
I mean,
most of us.
I'm quite definitely not going to say something completely unique here. I guess most businesses are kind of forecasting a similar picture. I don't think we'll ever go back to where we were. And I think something beautiful that we all showed in the past year is that businesses, our managers, our superiors can trust us to take up the responsibility to still. Even more, I think the work-life balance has shifted a little bit to the wrong
more
side
work,
because our meaningfulness, our zingeving, has shifted to work because there's not much left. I think as soon as we transition to a post-COVID situation, what is likely 2-3 days in the office and 2-3 days at home, and the office becoming more of a social hub for meetings and for gatherings, and having the quality time with your colleagues.
Yeah, and greater level of efficiency. I think like now we really know how to work efficiently, and is a meeting really needed for this, or can an email
And traveling.
just and traveling for special events and things like that. You just think about it twice.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
Question from the audience.
I don't want to
Sorry.
depress you in the very last minute, but
tell me.
I don't think we should want to go back to the old normal, because
No.
the old normal was
Not
a approaching climate crisis, was a economic system where we value financial success over
Exactly.
human rights, non-inclusivity, non-equality. So I would hope we can move forward towards a new society and a new economy. Honestly.
Yeah.
Agree
Great.
100%.
Question from the audience.
Yes, a lot of general questions, so maybe one to kind of end the conversation with. In what field are you planning to improve your B impact score in the future? Is it for workers, community, environment, and why?
Yeah, it's good to explain that there are different levels where you can score at the B Corporation impact assessment. Anyone wants to?
Well, for us, it's actually really spot on. It's people. We are super strong environmentally, and we, of course, care about the people. It is part of our business structure, human rights, everything, but we don't talk about it enough, actually. We don't.
Yeah.
We're very good about talking how incredible our denim is and little biodiversity impact that it has, CO2 impact, etc., and all of the really cool innovation techniques that we use. And while we, of course, stay on top of audits and working with our supply chain partners, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we're not doing enough of talking about the work that we're doing, and also talking even with our supply chain partners on how to improve things. There's always space for improvement, so for us, that's our focus.
Yeah. At Innocent?
Well, there's 200 points or more. I thought around 200 points to achieve. We are close to 100 now. We are trying to grow amongst all. We are especially strong around people and communities as well, but that's also where we're growing. I guess governance has a couple of items in there that take a longer while to get there, but around both people and communities and environment, we're trying to improve continuously.
Yeah. I guess in our company is also the people side where we can be more transparent. We have launched a website how for working at Auping now, where we tell some stories, backstage stories from how it is to work at Auping. But I guess we lost quite some B Corp points because we were not telling these kind of things before. Or on our website it wasn't even mentioned who the owners of the company are. And then it's seen as you're not transparent, but we were just like being modest, I guess. And we have to learn to speak up a little bit more and also tell what's going on in our company, not only on the production side, because I guess that's where we are very strong, but also telling the stories, meet the makers, show the faces behind the mattress makers and behind our company. And I think there we can win a big deal.
Where does Tony want to improve, Enzo?
Well, we don't have the problem that nobody would know who the owner of our company is, unfortunately. But no, we're at the verge of recertification this year, and we're aiming at a high score. Hopefully, we get there. But I do believe I'm not the expert. That's my appreciated colleague Pavi. I believe at the field of people we can improve. and we should and we will.
Yeah. Cool. I think it was good to end this round to see how we want to improve our B Corp score, and not only score that we want to score higher, but just that we want to make steps every time better.
Yeah.
I want to wrap up for now. I want to thank you here at the table, behind the scenes, and Jantine, of course, as well, and Virginia, who's sitting also in the back. Thank you for watching at home and the beautiful questions. The good thing is we will also put this on our socials on Monday. And if you repost it, then you can win this book. It's in Dutch, so for all the Dutch people. The Referent of Sustainability, Dominee van de Duurzaamheid, from Leen Zevenbergen. And I have to keep it up, so this book. And Leen is one of the co-founders of B-Lab here in Europe. Thanks for watching, and we do this program every now and then, so please watch our socials for the next one, and see you there. Thank you.